Welcome to But I Digress, a cocktails and conversation podcast with your hosts, Warren Smith and me, Irish Stewart. Come on in, honey.
Yes, welcome to, I was going to say another podcast, but I should say the first podcast of But I Digress, a cocktails and a conversation podcast. I'm, of course, Warren, but of course, I am not alone. I am always overshadowed by my great friend, Irish Stewart. How are you today, Irish?
I'm doing great. Are you calling me large?
No, your amazing gift of laughter and beauty and honor and spirit and
keep it
all
coming.
of that. How are you today?
I am doing unexpectedly well, but that didn't come out very well, did it? A little tongue stumble there. I got a little tequila.
Tequila will
but
do
not
that.
too much, and I did finish it, so we know it can't get worse than I am right now.
There you go. See, it's a guarantee. It's a lock. Isn't that what they say on the sports shows? It's a lock. It's a lock.
I don't know. I try not to
Something
watch
like
them.
that. I don't know.
I do watch a few. I do admit. I do watch a few, even though I like to complain about it.
So I am having an espresso martini. So today's show is brought to you by tequila and vodka, Tia Maria, and espresso coffee. So
I was drinking El Jimador tequila.
Ah, okay.
I like to say El Jimador.
It'll turn into an ASMR video next. I'd like to hear you say it. Okay. I'm actually drinking Rostov vodka, which it's the first time I've had it, and to be honest with you, it's okay. It does say it's distilled in Russia, in the Russian Federation, so, but I'm sure it's bottled outside. I'm sure it's not bottled inside Russia, but yeah, no, it's all right. So there you go. So so welcome everybody to a new podcast, same as the old podcast, with a new name. Maybe not. Maybe a little bit different. Maybe a little bit more professional. Hopefully, maybe.
But maybe not.
But maybe not. But the one thing I can guarantee you...
That's a lot of pressure for it.
One thing we can guarantee is that we will most definitely always digress on any subject. Because this show is basically Irish and I getting together and just talking about life, the universe, and everything. Basically, there's no real structure. It's just our thoughts and what we think about the world right now and what we've been up to. So, chin chin.
Yeah. I mean, we're not actually physically getting together because you do live on the other side of the planet from me. But
it's a long swim.
We are
it's a
getting
long
together.
swim in the morning. I have to.
We've been friends quite a long time now. We've never met in person because you live in Australia and I live in the United States. But
that's correct.
It's been a lovely time always chatting with you.
Oh,
we do.
Thank you.
So I do enjoy it.
I appreciate that. I have a great time as well. And we have talked for a long time across several podcasts, actually, too, not just this one. So, So
you know how white people like to do podcasts. So
there's a great there's a British comedian.
I'm already misbehaving.
Who I can't remember his name, but he plays a character called Uncle Roger. And Uncle Roger plays the typical Chinese Malay, sort of like middle-aged uncle, if you like. He was always, no, you don't do it like that. You put the rice this way. Don't worry.
He is a stereotype.
He's Malaysian himself, so he's just playing sort of what a lot of older Malaysians are like. Yeah, okay. So there's nothing racist or anything like that. Don't think that. But he's a very funny guy. But he started to actually. I'm going to get off track. I'm really going to get off track. But anyway, he does.
Duh.
But I digress. 4 minutes and 53 seconds in. Anyway, so he started doing YouTube videos where he would look at celebrity chefs cooking fried rice, and he would comment on it, but in his character of Uncle Roger rather than himself.
Okay.
And so Nigel Newen, I think it's Nigel Nung. Nigel Nung, I think, is his name, his real name. And you can look him up. And he's a very funny guy. He's a stand-up comedian. And anyway, so he takes the piss out of Gordon Ramsay and out of and Jamie Oliver and all these different things for cooking fried rice badly. And this is now an ongoing thing. It's been going on for a couple of years now. And there's this one great line. Don't worry, I won't do the voice. I only do the voice to explain.
Please don't
I won't do the voice. Don't worry, I won't do the voice. But he goes, this fried rice is so white, as in he's talking about not Asian. You know, he's talking about it's so white. He said it could start its own podcast.
Oh, see, all that for that line. Dear God.
Sorry. Yeah, I know.
No, but you know what? That's true.
Yes.
And it's funny because it's true. It's also sad because it's true. And it's funny because it's sad.
I know. I was once told, when Warren starts a story, you've got time to go out, make a coffee, cook dinner, come back just before you get to the punchline. So,
oh my God.
It can be a bit like that.
No. Believe me. I will say I work. For those of you who don't know, I work in writing. I work with my mother. My mother has a brilliant mind for creating ideas. However, she is not a writer. And she will take 400 words to say what could be said in 20. So yes. I have that same problem all the time because she kind of spills her brain onto paper and hands it to me and says, here, make this understandable. And I have to take the majority of the words, like 380 words. I have to figure out how to get them out. And then we're left with 2 or 3 sentences. And I said, this isn't enough. So
it's like there's
an ongoing problem.
There's an American journalist on MSNBC, I think. Rachel Maddow, I think that's her name.
Oh my gosh! You know what? I almost said something when yes.
Okay, and I have seen her show a couple. I don't watch this. I don't like her, to be honest. It's not anything to do with her opinion. It's the way that she presents current affairs, because she'll start off with, it's like she has an hour-long show, and she'll say, today we're going to talk about corruption in the office of the mayor of, I don't know, wherever, right? But she will then spend the next 40 minutes describing what a mayor is, what an office is.
The whole show is
I know. And then you get to and you're looking at your watch going, are we going to finish this in time? Is this going to be held over for part 2? And then we get to the last 5 minutes, and then it's literally, well, it's undecided whether he did actually take a bribe. It's like, hang on, I spent 40 minutes listening to the lead up to hear you say it's undecided.
Well, I mean, of course it's undecided.
Oh,
but
I love it.
I agree with you because I adore her. Don't get me wrong. I do, because I think a lot of times she brings a lot of things to light. But I have learned when you turn on the show, you listen to her little intro and that little tease that she gives you. Mm-hmm. And then you switch to Home and Garden Television and you watch somebody tear down a house for a little while. And then you switch back for the last 10 minutes of Rachel's show. Yes. And if you do that, you don't have to sit through the build-up. So
it's quite unbelievable. But I do remember she took over the slot from a gentleman. Was it Keith Olbermann? I think
Keith Olbermann.
Yes,
Olbermann.
And I've seen old YouTube videos of his show on MSNBC, and he was hilarious. It was like part current affairs, part stand-up comedy. He was incredibly clever.
Well, I mean, he's still around. He does his sports casting and things.
He's a baseball nut, isn't he? I think.
Yeah, he loves sports. So yeah. I mean, right now he's technically a sports commentator.
Right.
He had been on MSNBC for a long time, they had a little bit of an issue. I think it had to do, and to be perfectly honest, I really can't remember. I think it might have had to do with some sort of political contribution he had made, and then they ended up firing him. Okay,
Okay.
wait, I'm looking it up right now. Okay, let's see. He was also on Current TV for a while, which was like some stuff here. Well, you know what? It's not good for me to be scrolling on this, but he ended up going over to ESPN. And then
Right.
just in October of last year, he had resigned from ESPN. He's going to actually be going back to doing political commentary.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I mean, there, I'm glad to see him back, to be perfectly honest. I didn't love him or hate him, but I think we can always use good analytical voices in our politics. So, I mean, considering most everything is opinion now anyway.
With cable
America.
news, cable news definitely, isn't it? I mean, what, you get 10 minutes of news an hour, and the rest is
Yeah.
opinion.
Well, you know what? Okay. They give you one or two headline stories, and then the rest of the day they do nothing but talk about people talking about the stories.
Yeah, yeah.
They give you your opinion about the stories, and then they talk about other people's opinions about the stories and what this person's response to the story was, and what this person's response to the other person's response to the story was. That's not fucking news. Sorry. I'm not sorry.
Well, it's like,
I'm not.
you know how there's
I'm bitter.
I don't know. There's a big thing on YouTube at the moment with the reaction video. People have these reaction channels. They watch a music clip or they watch a movie and they react to it.
I know.
Right, and it seems to be very popular. But I think it gets beyond a joke when you get some of them who are reacting to a reaction video of a reaction. And you're thinking to yourself,
can we just stop
really?
with this?
That's
I know.
yeah. Really?
Well, you know what though? This makes me wonder because that's so boring. What are you watching on TV lately? Are you watching anything new? Because I've got some stuff I've been watching.
Well, there's one show, because I'm in lockdown again.
Again.
Again. I'm in Melbourne, who we'll bring up. Oh, maybe we won't. I don't know. But endless. Officially now, Melbourne has been in lockdown more days than any other city in the world. Even though we've got some of the lowest case rates of COVID in the world. But then again, they're trying to save lives. So you know what I mean.
Well, yeah.
So
you could live in Florida.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. I mean, I feel lucky, that I have a government that overreacts, but I'd probably rather them overreact than not do anything. So,
Yeah.
But anyway, we were talking about TV. I have so much time on my hands. And, well, when I say that, that's not quite true because I'm still working. But the difference is I don't have 2 hours of travel in the morning in peak hour traffic. I don't have an hour and a half on the way home.
That's a lot of commute. Yeah.
Right? I don't have... also, when I get home, I can't go anywhere. I can't go out. Weekends, I can't go out. I can move from the study to the living room, you know what. And this has been going... We're in our 6th or 7th lockdown now. And the current one may not end until November, So it's like so much time on my hands. And so I've been looking at lots of different things, which I want to raise a little bit later, if that's all right. But
sure.
TV shows. See, I told you, go off and make dinner, come back, and I will have eventually got to the point. It just told me, Rachel. The show that I've been watching is a show that many people, especially for people who are living in lockdowns at the moment, have called the Lifesaver Show, and that is Ted Lasso. Because this show is like, it is so sweet. It is so honeysuckly sweet and beautiful and honest with the idea of this man with his just beautiful honesty and caring, and the way that he changes everyone around him to be the same. He changes evil people and makes them good. And it's kind of the show that we need right now. because we want to feel good. We want to feel good, you know, and it's a show that I think has, in some ways, in Australia anyway, right now, and if you live anywhere else in the world that may have a lockdown going on at the moment, it's a show which is it's a show of its time, you know, and I've been embracing it. The problem is it's only 50 minutes, you know, once a week, but it's been a show for the moment, a show for its time, put it that way. So
wow.
Yeah, that's definitely one that's been very important to me at the moment.
You know, you're not the first person I've heard that from.
Really?
Yeah, no, I've got a good friend from high school that was telling me that was a show that was really something that I should be watching, and I've meant to do it. And also, one of the guys that's working with us on this show going to Netflix or wherever it ends up, he was saying it was something to my mom and I both that we should watch. So, yeah, I'm kind of interested to see it, but I'll be honest with you, I have not sat down and watched it yet.
It's in its second season. So it's the thing about it is that it's funny. It's black humor, even though it's an American show.
I do love that.
It's very British. I mean, well, 90% of the cast is British.
It's British. Yeah.
It's set in London, but it's
it's a bit dry then, is it?
Oh, yeah. Well, the whole thing is it's all based off an old, believe it or not, ESPN skit show. Like comedy bites that used to be on ESPN.
Really?
About a college football coach who gets up to the big league but has no idea what he's doing. Like he's absolutely out of his depth. But he's the nicest man who ever walked the earth.
Okay.
And everyone around him, he changes their whole ideology just by being part of his aura, you know?
Okay, Warren, honestly, I've heard several descriptions of this show, and this is the only one that's made me go, oh my God, I kind of have to turn this on watch it.
But if you just want to watch it as a dark comedy, then it's fine. But there's 101 dark comedies out there, you know. There's something very special about this show. It's not just a dark comedy. It is something that if you ever feel like you're in a dark place, watch this show, because you can watch 3 or 4 episodes and come out feeling better about who you are. It's almost like it's like going to visit a psychologist for free, right?
Well, God knows I could use that.
I mean, obviously that's a total overreaction, but but this show
not mine.
This show is so uplifting, you know, and the thing is that because we're still in this pandemic, it is this show for the moment. It is the show of 2020, 2021. Its timing, nice? Couldn't have been more perfect. So, but
yeah, you know, there's always so many shows on that just make you go, oh God, you know, people yelling at each other and screaming at each other, and I see that in politics all the time now. I don't want to watch it on TV. I hate reality television when it does stuff like that. I love competition shows and stuff like the cooking shows and things. That's fine. But I am not into watching people scream and yell at each other and have all kinds of conflict and drama on TV. Like, that's not something I want. So what you're describing to me is something that's, you know, that's intriguing.
It is. Actually, what you just described is one reason why I can't watch reality TV, because it's just people being the lowest common denominator. You know, it's horrible. But the other thing, and then I'll shut up because I want to hear what you've been up to, is and I think most people listening want to say, Warren, shut up. We want to hear what Irish has been doing. I have re-embraced the American Hallmark murder mystery. Right? The Hallmark make these endless amount of movies which are, you know, where it's like a chef and an FBI officer, and they team up together to solve murders because
Warren.
you know what I'm talking about, don't you? The sort
of, I know the kind, but see, here in America, the Hallmark movies are these really lame, sappy Christmas love stories.
But that's what they are. That's what they are. They're sappy, lame, but they're a murder mystery at the same time. And why I've fallen in love with them, I think, is that they're giving me this false idea of what America is, and I'm slowly falling in love with America. But I know their portrayal of America is not accurate.
I'm concerned.
Well, I don't believe that, it's sort of like when you have a Texas Ranger and a woman that runs a cupcake emporium in downtown Houston, okay, that it's a real, and they're out solving murder mysteries, right? But everyone in Texas seems to drive a hybrid fucking car, and do you know what I mean? And it's like, and the other thing too is in these small towns in the Colorado mountains, which I'll tell you what, the film work is beautiful. I just want to go to Colorado now. But everybody is upper middle class. Everybody is well dressed. They live in a 5-bedroom house. There's zero unemployment. Do you know what I mean? It's just life is.
Haven't you ever seen like an American Christmas movie or anything? Everybody lives in a really big fancy house and a nice street. Yeah.
But that's what they're like. They're like those Christmas movies, but they're murder mysteries. Do you remember the Dick Van Dyke show, Diagnosis Murder? Right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
okay.
Later.
Well,
sure.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
They're like that, but they're Hallmark movies. Right?
Okay, so, Diagnosis Murder and things like Murder, She Wrote, they were basically Hallmark movies, but with murder mysteries.
Yeah.
So, because they were for older people. So, are you showing your age now, Warren? Is that what's happening?
Yeah,
You're going to watch these?
Probably. But it's...
No, I understand the need to watch something that makes you feel less yucky.
Yeah.
Less sad, less down. I'll admit there's times I watch like old Little House on the Prairie episodes just because I don't want to listen to things that are going to make me upset right now. Yeah. There's enough of that shit going on everywhere.
No, I hear you, and I think for me at the moment, I've been embracing, even though murder mysteries is not really uplifting, but the way Hallmark does it, they kind of are.
Well, I was going to say,
you know what I mean? Yeah,
you kind of laugh your ass off at that stuff. Yeah,
and I've sort of been embracing all of this sort of, or it's almost escapism. Very much escapism at the moment. But I think that has a lot to do with where I am right now. Just emotionally where I am right now.
Yes.
So yeah.
Being on lockdown has to be really difficult. I've been dealing with people close to me getting COVID, and that's really difficult, even though they were vaccinated. It's scary still. And it's been a very stressful time. Just when we thought things were starting to get together and back, the morons in our society have caused us to go into a worse kind of spiral than we were before we even had a vaccine. And that's what's kind of crappy. And so I want to talk about TV shows though.
Yes.
No, I want to tell you this because I've been watching some stuff that is not apparently quite as uplifting as what you have been watching.
Right. Don't tell me you've been watching the the Danish murder mysteries, which are all dark and violent.
No.
They're very dark and violent. But
I'm getting close to those.
Okay.
No, I've ended up watching a lot of cartoons, first of all, just, to get your mind off of stuff, and also game shows. Because sometimes I just like to see people winning some money or getting something and being happy. But other than that, I've been watching a couple of shows that I wasn't expecting to be what they were. One of them, I think it was on HBO, The White Lotus. was the first season of this show called The White Lotus. And I tell you what, I wasn't expecting it to be what it was. I don't know what I was expecting. It has Connie Britton in it and some other people that you would recognize. Steve Zahn, maybe. And it is an intriguing look. It's supposed to be an anthology, I guess. So this per season. So I don't know if there'll be different characters. But it's set at a resort in Hawaii. And the very wealthy people come to this resort. And it's kind of just some stuff that goes down at the resort during their stay. And it was so constantly like keeping you on the edge of your seat, even though nothing ever happened. Like,
okay. So nothing happened. Okay. I can make a joke.
No, things did end up happening.
Right, okay.
But but every episode, you were still like on the edge of your seat for the whole thing. But when you would look back at it, it was like nothing actually major happened. They would move small plot points ahead. And the music, like the musical score, makes you stay on edge the whole time. But it was a really good show. And it ended up different than I was expecting. The twist was different. So there's a twist. Because you open at the very beginning with a mystery. The mystery is you see this guy, he's there talking to some people in an airport. And they're talking about their vacation. And the people ask him, when he says the name of his resort, that somebody died at the resort. They heard somebody died at the resort. And he said, yes, basically. And they're like, and he was a newlywed, him here on my honeymoon. Where's your wife? And he goes, excuse me, why don't you shut the fuck up and mind your own business? So you start this whole thing with this air of mystery, and you start to make assumptions immediately about these people as you start to get introduced to them. And overall, I'm very intrigued by the show, although I don't know really where it's even supposed to be going after this. So it's something that I think is worth taking a look at. It was interesting enough to get me to watch the entire season.
Right.
So I'm curious about it. But the other one that I just started watching is on Hulu. And there's two on Hulu that I just started watching. Okay, so this one is 9 Perfect Strangers. It has Nicole Kidman in it.
Oh, I've heard of this.
And Melissa McCarthy.
Yes.
Yes. I suggest watching it. I'm up to the number of episodes that they put out so far because, Hulu doesn't do what Netflix does. They don't put everything out right at once, so you can't binge it. They make you come back week after week. And so watch the episodes again. Melissa McCarthy, let me just tell you, is a fantastic actress. She is an amazing actress. And I know she's done a lot of comedy, a lot of goofy things, and that's where she started. But she has really come into her own. I mean, I am blown away by her performance in this. And some of the other actors, too. Nicole Kidman is really interesting. And right now I am completely confused and enticed to see where it's going. So I'm definitely watching another episode.
Okay.
It's dark, but it's comedy, but I don't know. It's really an interesting thing. I'm noticing a real trend in shows these days. You can't take your eyes off the screen for 1 second. Because every little thing they put on the screen is a clue and a hint to something that's coming. And if you turn away for a second, you miss it. And you're going to miss a clue. They didn't used to do that so much, It used to be more simple.
Right. You're right.
I'm so glad to see them starting to keep up with the sophistication of the audiences.
I'm actually amazed. Oh, no, that's unfair, Warren. I take that back. I'm absolutely so pleased that when I look at so much American television now, at just how amazingly good the quality is.
Isn't it amazing?
I mean, if you went back, let's say, 20 years ago, so pre-2000, 1980s, 1990s, when I'm watching American TV, I'll be honest with you, it's pretty crap.
Sitcoms,
in saying that, it doesn't mean there weren't American shows from that time period that I adore. So don't okay. But compared to the quality of what was coming out of Europe at the same time, I mean, it's not comparable. It really isn't. But now, American television, I think, is almost I don't know if it is the pinnacle, but if it's not, it's damn close.
I don't think it's the pinnacle. I think we've reached a new plateau and we're moving forward all the time. I love it.
I'm absolutely amazed, especially like as soon as you hear the words HBO, you immediately go, yeah, this is going to be good. Like you just kind of automatically say to yourself, it's going to be good. Because you hear those three letters, HBO.
They put a lot of money. They put a lot of money into their productions. You know, Starz does the same thing. Starz puts tons of money into their productions.
Yeah.
If they believe in your show, it doesn't matter how crazy it is, how confusing it might be, they will put money into it. American Gods is proof of that. And I love American Gods. But through the entire season, every episode, I'm going, what the fuck is going on? What is happening? Why is that person doing this? And every episode, you think you're going to get answers, but you don't. You get just enough to feed you, just enough to keep you coming back the next week. And that's the brilliance in it. You know, I mean, that's what we're working for on our shows when we do those. So, I mean, I understand, and I love that they're starting to keep pace with the sophistication of the minds of the audiences now. People expect more. Back in the 80s, American TV was a lot of really nice family sort of dramas, but they were like the real cleaned up, nice dramas. Say like Seventh Heaven or things like that, where it was all clean cut people, you know, show. Doing right. Yeah. Later on, the guy who was playing the father on that and the minister, I think he got charged with some kind of child pornography or something. I don't know.
Well, look at the
and please, if I'm wrong, but it was something like that.
Well, look at I can speak from an Australian perspective. The Cosby Show was probably the top rated show in Australia. Australians loved the Cosby Show.
He was America's dad in the 80s.
That's right. And then, of course, we now know the truth.
America's dad was roofing people and having sex with them while they were passed out. Well, and he's been acquitted now because of the judges or whatever, and good for him. But we should move on. Anyway.
I know, yes.
The one show I wanted to tell you about, and I literally just started watching it yesterday, and I wasn't expecting it, and it's on Hulu, and it has one of my favorite actors of all times, and another that I look at as a legend, but was never necessarily a favorite. But I tell you what, I'm really looking at him in a different way. Okay, so the show is called Only Murders in the Building. And it is created by Steve Martin and a man named John Hoffman. Now, it stars Steve Martin, Martin Short. And Selena Gomez.
Yep.
Okay, have you watched it?
No, I saw them interviewed on Bill Maher's show, talking about the show, and
I don't watch it.
I don't watch Bill Maher very often either, but I watch it occasionally. Because the problem is he pisses me off so much, and then I have to wait 3 weeks.
Oh,
and
don't hate watch. Don't hate watch.
No. But then I forgive him and I go and watch it back again. You know what I mean? I don't know. He drives me nuts. It's like I like his politics, but I hate the way that he keeps carrying on about woke this and woke that. Oh, just fucking shut up.
He's an Islamophobe. You know, and I don't like people who are Islamophobes. I'm sorry. I don't like any kind of organized religion, but don't single out the Muslim people.
I know. So
so let's not go into that.
Anyway, I saw them interviewed on the show about it.
Yes,
and the show looks really interesting.
I didn't know what to think at first, and I started watching it, and you get an idea it's going to be something, and then it starts to switch it up a little bit. And although Steve Martin is playing the characters that Steve Martin plays, and although Martin Short is playing the characters that Martin Short plays, they both have these moments where they are not those, where you see them step outside of that, where you see that they are using that as a way to shield themselves from the reality of what's going on. So it works really well in the story. And Selena Gomez, I got to tell you, she's adorable. And I know she's been struggling a lot with her lupus. And I hope that this show does well for them. I'm anxiously awaiting the next episode. I am very curious to see where they're going. Some of the stuff has been a little silly, but overall, I think it's been pretty brilliant. And Martin Short has had these moments when he's not speaking, and everything is about his reaction on his face and his whole energy and his aura. And that's the best acting I've ever seen from him.
But Martin Short...
But he's not opening his mouth.
Well, Martin Short, to me, is an amazing man. I think that he's a really talented actor who was never allowed, or not allowed, but it never got the opportunity to truly express his ability in the art.
I can imagine that, yeah. And you can see his depth in this.
Yes,
even now.
He was typecast for so long in the roles that he was in, and he was so much bigger than that. And that's not a joke about his height or anything.
Oh, well, no, on TV, that's a perfect height for TV.
And I also have a huge respect for for his personal tragedy that he went through and the way he dealt with it. And huge respect for the man. Just amazing respect for the man.
Oh, he's a legend. He is. And honestly, Steve Martin, there hasn't been a day in my life that I haven't smiled thinking about him, because honestly, I grew up listening to tons and tons of comedy albums. My parents would buy me, we'd go to the used record stores, and I would get comedy albums from comedians from the 60s up through, where I was in the 70s at that point.
So how old were you when you were doing that? Sorry?
God. Like, from the time I was like 8 or 9 years old.
Right, okay. Because that's really unusual. Because I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want to say, I know lots of boys who do that, but that's really unusual for girls. So that's absolutely amazing. Sorry, please continue. I just want to throw that in.
No, I was obsessed with comedians like the Smothers Brothers. I had like all their comedy albums. One of Steve Martin's albums that I had was Comedy Is Not Pretty. And he did this reading from one of his I guess he had done a book. It was short stories and essays, and it was called Cruel Shoes. And to this very day, I think about him telling the story of Cruel Shoes, and you guys can actually find it on YouTube if you look it up. Steve Martin from Comedy Is Not Pretty, Cruel Shoes, and it's an excerpt from his book. Him, Richard Pryor, Martin Mull, just tons, and like whatever I could get my hands on in the way of stand-up comedy, but I would listen to it on long play album in my room on my record player over and over and over. Okay. So yeah, Steve Martin for me is a big deal. So I love to watch him in anything. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was one of my very favorite movies. And, of course, Three Amigos, which also had Martin Short in it. So
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I love that movie. That is
Isn't it a brilliant film?
But one, it's hilarious, but also, two, the ending is so beautiful,
It's very touching. It's heartwarming, and it's hilarious, and it's sad, and it's...
It has everything, it really does. But I love the way, too, just that Steve Martin, this very, very wealthy executive, is kind of really brought down to earth in the last 5 minutes, about who he is. And it's, Although, I mean, you've got to love the underpants scene, and you've got to love John Candy.
My God.
And you have to love
John
Candy playing the piano on the dashboard of the car while he's driving.
Oh, my God.
I mean...
Those are some of my... It's really one of my favorite movies. And it's a movie that... It's the only... honestly, it's the only movie I think that is an American Thanksgiving movie. We have all other kinds of Christmas movies and Halloween movies and all these things. I don't know any other actual Thanksgiving movie other than like Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, which wasn't really a movie. It was more of a cartoony thing. So that's the only one I look at as actually being a Thanksgiving holiday movie.
See, I hadn't thought about that because obviously...
Because you guys don't have that.
I don't celebrate... Although I'd still remember having I still remember having someone ask me, do you celebrate Thanksgiving? And I still remember just shaking my head going, what? Seriously? You do know your own history for why you celebrate it. So why the fuck would anybody outside of Canada or the United States celebrate it?
Canada has their own Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's a different day.
Yes, maybe they just thought that you guys would maybe want to give thanks for some shit. I don't know, man.
I don't know. It's interesting. Although 4th of July parties have become popular in Australia, believe it or not.
But why?
I think people kind of thinking that it's cool or something. I really don't know.
I suggest Cinco de Mayo instead. Okay. Yeah. Don't be patriotic to America. We suck these days. I'm just like...
It's pretty small, but mind you, people also do...
I'm going to get some emails
now. There's probably more people that celebrate Bastille Day than they do 4th of July in Australia, to be truthful. Man. So, I mean, the only national day we have in Australia is Australia Day. And Anzac Day. Sorry, that's it.
And that's not even the sausage sizzle day. Oh well. Wait, what was it that you get though? You talked to me about that one time.
Oh, the sausage sizzle. Well, on that.
Not that. No, on Australia Day. What is it you guys eat? There was something, wasn't it?
Well, we kind of it's Election Day. I think you're thinking of, which is the democracy.
No,
sausage.
I know it's not the sausage sizzle. That's Election Day.
Yeah,
but I thought you told me there was something that happened on Australia Day, food wise. Am I misremembering that? Because
maybe a little bit. There's not
I've been drunk in my defense.
There is there is. I mean, it's traditional to have a barbecue and. You could say a sausage sizzle is a barbecue, technically. So, but realistically, Australia Day now, there's no actual there's only one standard that has to be maintained for Australia Day, and that is drink to excess. Everything else is basically do whatever you want.
That's like St. Patrick's Day.
Because the thing is, Australia is now made up of so many different nationalities that it's like Vietnamese Australians kind of do Australia Day a little bit different to, I don't know, Scottish Australians who do it different to Serbian Australians who, do you know what I mean? Like everybody kind of does it in their own way. So not everyone's exactly the same. The only thing that is the same is the amount of alcohol which is consumed. So,
I just realized, though, that I was confusing Australia Day with whatever it was that you told me was a completely made-up name for a holiday, like Friendship Day or something.
Oh, God.
But it didn't really mean that. But it didn't really mean it. And you guys do it every year.
Oh, I must have been really drunk. I can't remember now. God.
Maybe we should take a break for a minute. Because I bet you I could have another shot of tequila. I think there might be a little more.
It's probably a good, it's probably a good time anyway. So we'll just take a quick break and basically, let's be honest.
And it won't be even a second for y'all.
No, it'll just be a few seconds and we'll refill our glasses. All right, we'll be right back. And we're back with glasses refilled. See, that wasn't too painful. It was only about 3 seconds. It's very timey-wimey the way that happens. And we had the greatest conversation, actually, before we came back.
It happens all the time.
We're talking about, guilty pleasures, things that... actually, it brings up a point. I'll just quickly say, we were talking about the fact that I'm a big fan of the band Bananarama from Britain, which is not necessarily something that a 50-year-old guy is meant to kind of say, oh, I love Bananarama.
I told you, I love them.
Yeah, and we were talking about some of the funny stories that I'd heard with them being interviewed and stuff. And but do you have guilty pleasures? You know,
that is a loaded question, Warren.
Stuff that obviously you're prepared to admit. Oh, you know what I'm trying to say. It's people will be like, I'll give you another one. Okay. Because of lockdown, I have been trying to. We were talking about TV before, watching various different shows and things.
Yeah.
At the moment, and with all the time at night and on the weekends, I decided, I went through the bookshelf and I found some old strategy board games, you know, that I had from when I was like...
On your bookshelf?
Yeah, from when I was like 16 or something like that, you know, where you would get all the counters on the board and you would try to... you know, like Risk, and so you try to, you know, conquer the world,
Risk, yeah,
and stuff like that, right?
Axis and Allies,
yes, Axis and Allies. But these ones were the next level. These were a little bit more serious, where like
the next level from Axis and Allies.
Well, where you could dominate the universe rather than the world. No, it's where they went into a micro detail where you would recreate the Battle of Waterloo or refight the Battle of Gettysburg on a board with counters and stuff.
Okay.
And I sort of thought, I remember all of this when I was 16, even into my early 20s. And I had a lot of them. I had a collection of about 10 of them, I remember, at one stage. And I only had about 2 left. And I thought, why don't I get this out, reread the rules and play it? And I got it out and I played the first one, which is called Luftwaffe. And it's not Nazi. It's just, you know, they have these names, right? Okay, right. And anyway, and I played it, and then it has about 3 different games in the game, and I played them all, and I thought, then I got out my second one, and I played that, and I thought, I'm really enjoying this. You know, this is actually a hobby I think I might like to re-embrace, a guilty pleasure, if you like.
How is it guilty?
$500 later on Amazon and eBay.
Oh my God, Warren.
I'd ordered in all of these games. And I now have about 2 years worth of strategy games in the bookshelf ready to learn and play. So, yes.
I got overly ambitious with the puzzles over the holiday.
Yeah.
And I still have lots of them. I have a 1,000 piece puzzle that is doing an antique map of the world. And it's all beige tones. And I'm already really stressed out by it.
Do you frame them when they're done?
No, I don't have any room to frame things.
Oh, okay. My mother used to do that. She used to make these huge puzzles. Like she spent 3 months building a puzzle, and then they get them framed.
Well, you know, I know a lot of people do that, and that's great. But see, if I do that, 1, I have to have a place to hang it or have a purpose for it.
Yeah.
2, I can't ever do the puzzle again. You know, I might not want to do it again, but I do have a kid, and hopefully, maybe someday, no pressure, hopefully someday he'll have some kids. You know, I think it would be silly to just kind of glue it up and stick it on a wall and go, hey, look what I did. I can find shapes and put them together.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I do love to do them, and I love to do the difficult ones.
I'm sorry. I'm still laughing at the line "no pressure." I'm sorry. I'm just so fucking laughing. Sorry. Sorry.
Sorry.
But that's good. But also doing puzzles it's like an endless collection. You know, it's like in many ways a puzzle is in fact is very interesting. puzzles and strategy games are actually sold in the same shops.
Yes,
because they're actually kind of viewed as the same hobby to a degree.
I also like to do the ones online now, like Civilization, the different levels of Civilization. I like to do city building games, Sim City, different things like that. I like to do the infrastructure kind of games, but a lot of the Civilization games, like the ones that are countries taking over other countries and the strategy in that line, kind of fun. It's kind of fun to do that on a computer and not, committing genocide out in the real world like some people have chosen to do in the past. Yes. I would prefer to just do it on a video game.
So you reckon if we had given Mussolini a Sega system, he would have been better off?
I feel like a little Call of Duty for Hitler would have been all right. I'm like, yes. Might have toned it down a little. Although he would have had a real problem with his mouth, probably. And he would have been banned from having any kind of microphone privileges on Xbox.
Could you imagine if you had Twitter in 1933?
Yeah, I kind of can, because we just got rid of the last guy that had Twitter.
You're actually right. It actually wouldn't have been a lot different, actually.
No, people are...
I know people say, you automatically lose the argument as soon as you mention Hitler. And,
blah, blah. You know what?
But
these are people that want you to mention Hitler.
Okay,
I'm sorry if you don't like to talk about it.
But I really do think that... Now, I do not believe that Donald Trump was an equivalent of Adolf Hitler. But I do believe...
I think he was the reincarnation of Mussolini.
I think there's a lot of similarities there. Yeah, absolutely.
I think he was a reincarnation, which means he was kind of lame in this lifetime, just as he was kind of lame in the last one.
But that's the thing. Mussolini
and he was still a megalomaniac, but
he was a megalomaniac and a narcissist who was incredibly. Although he ruled Italy for a very long time, he was a very bad leader. He was not actually a good leader in what he did or achieved.
The trains run on time.
Actually, that's not. Yeah, I know it's not true at all. He never did. He never did. That was all that sort of propaganda that was done, and and then he would take Italy into a war. One, most Italians had no interest in. Two, it couldn't afford, and then he lied to his ally Germany because he needed to supply so many divisions. So I'm making up numbers here, but just to give you an idea of what Mussolini did to con the fucking Germans, or the Nazis, I should say, is that what he did was he had like 15 divisions in his army. Wasn't enough, really, if he was going to be part of this grand Axis alliance, he needed more of that. So all he did was he cut each division in half in size and then created another 20 and said, there you go, I've got 40 divisions. Right, but they were all half strength. So it was not a very clever... I suppose he was clever politically. I mean, he hung on until the very end, but... Anyway.
Yeah, he hung on by the neck till the very end.
Well, till the very end,
but
yes.
What? Too soon? Sorry.
Oh, no, he was an asshole. I mean, the only thing you could say about him is, one thing, he was not anti-Semitic. Although he did...
It is not the only thing I could say about him.
He did allow the Jews to be transported out of Italy because he didn't stop the Nazis from doing it, even though he couldn't care less, but that's not the point. He was still an asshole, and how many...
huge...
How many
asshole. Yes.
How many Libyans and Abyssinians died? I mean, he dropped poison gas on fucking Abyssinian tribesmen. I mean, the man was an asshole. The man was an asshole.
At the very least.
But
we've had a lot of those at the very least, assholes on our planet. Yeah.
Although it is fascinating.
I want to know what's going on with you guys with the Y chromosomes.
Well, yeah, we produce a lot of assholes, don't we? But
Yeah.
it is fascinating. You watch a El Duce
Assholes.
you watch an El Duce video, and then you watch a Donald Trump press conference, and
No, I
they're
do not.
similar. No. But I'm just saying
No,
they are
I know. No, I agree with
fucking, because he doesn't actually behave anything like Hitler. But compared to Mussolini, fuck me, he is almost identical.
I've blown your mind, haven't I?
Oh,
made
you
go,
have.
wait a minute.
Yeah. Just his facial, like his jaw actions, the way he raises his. It's fucking amazing. Yeah, and absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about distractions, and we got distracted. Yes, but it is but it is. I don't really want to talk about fascists. Truly, I don't. If that's all right,
Well,
I don't.
Fuck the fascists, punch a Nazi.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. You know, if
the end.
yeah. Basically, if you see a fascist on the street, punch him in the face. Don't worry, I'll pay the legal fees. There you go. So
that is not a guarantee that Warren will pay your legal fees if you punch a fascist.
Don't worry. At the end of the podcast, there'll be all the fine print.
Don't lie to those people.
Oh, dearie me. It does, but it's interesting. We had the police in Melbourne stopped another far right fucking demonstration this weekend.
Gosh.
We've already had two. Sydney, those had some bad ones. Melbourne had a very bad one a couple of weeks ago, where some fucking Nazi fuck actually punched a horse out. And I know that sounds a bit like the scene from Blazing Saddles, and it sounds funny, right? But in real life, it's not funny at all. These animals,
he's an animal.
I mean, yeah, it's animal cruelty. And he's been charged. He will be going. He'll be going. Probably won't go to jail. Yeah, they never fucking do. He'll probably just be fined. You know. But yeah, it's the far right's been out, you know, with their anti-vaccination, anti-COVID marches and all the rest of it.
Oh, me.
I always do love the fact. Oh, here I am. I'm talking about fascists, and I said let's not talk about fascists. But it always does blow my mind the way that fascists march down the street screaming freedom. I mean, it really is a fucking. I mean, it's a contradiction in terms, isn't it?
I too enjoy irony.
Yeah, it's you know.
You know what we had here? I just read the story about an elementary school in Mesquite, Texas. It's outside of Dallas, Texas. An elementary school had a father had called up the school to tell them that his kid had exposure to somebody with COVID. So they told him that the kid had to quarantine for 7 days. So the father showed up at the school with two of his big friends with police enforcement zip ties to confront the female principal of an elementary school. Oh, because he wanted his son to be put back, or his kid to be put back into the school without any kind of quarantine or anything. And they were coming there to intimidate her with zip ties. Like they were going to zip tie her arms and take her away. She ended up calling the cops.
Yeah.
And they ended up getting arrested. But they were going to do a citizen's arrest because they said she was breaking the law for telling his kid he had to quarantine for 7 days.
A citizen's
This is what we're dealing with here. You have a bunch of people showing up at school board meetings who don't even live in the county or have children that go to the schools, showing up and causing all kinds of ruckus and hateful screaming and things like that at school board meetings for elementary schools and public school systems just to cause problems.
Fuck. The moment we get a COVID case at a school in Australia, the school closes down. Instantly. It's not even a question about should the kids... No, it's just they close the school down, right?
Well, you guys are smarter than us, apparently. Dumb here.
Yeah, but we're paying a
huge... Dumb, D-U-M-B.
But the thing to remember is we're paying a huge price. I mean, Melbourne, for argument's sake, is getting 5-6 million people, in a city. We're getting about 200 cases of COVID a day. I think we've had 1 death in 2 months. the entire city has been locked down for 2 months. So the thing is, and here's the thing, people are paying a price financially with their jobs. So the thing is, a lot of people sort of say, oh, well, Australia, the COVID numbers are so low, let's model ourselves on Australia. The one thing I will say is I'm not arguing that, but you have to remember you pay a fucking price for that. And as long as you're prepared to pay the price, it's a bit like we love Sweden, we love Finland. I want to go and live there. They have everything for free. It's great. Yes, providing you want to pay 60% tax. You've got to take it into real proportion, if you know what I mean. Now, the thing is that I'm not for one thing or the other. But what I'm saying is people have got to be realistic. I hate hearing people sort of say, follow Australia's lead, and then they say, oh, but that means that you'll be stood down from your job. Oh, don't follow Australia's lead. You can't have it both ways. You've got to make a stand, you know what I mean? And that was a rant because I don't know where my stand is anymore, to be honest with you. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, because I agree with lockdowns. I agree with saving lives. I agree with the fact that COVID numbers are really low because Australia's doing what it's doing. But I'm so terrified for these people that don't have jobs at the moment. It's really hard. I mean,
it is hard on people. We're having the same problem here. But we have had tons and tons and tons of cases here in Florida. People are dying because people were more worried about people going back to work than they were worried about people being healthy.
Yeah.
And so they opened up the schools and they opened up the businesses and they did all this stuff. And the areas that they did that were having explosions in cases again. And it created the Delta variant, which is ravaging our state. It is infecting people who are already vaccinated. And even though people who are vaccinated, only one in 1,000, I think they said 1 in 1,000 might actually show symptoms from even getting it, which means they could still spread it if they're vaccinated, but not know they have it. But the Delta variant is going around and giving people symptoms that are vaccinated. So, and that's because the unvaccinated people are refusing to do anything to shield themselves. They don't want to wear a mask. They don't want to get the vaccination. It's mutating. We're never going to get this under control that way.
Well,
to be perfectly honest, I'm just getting really tired of protecting the people who refuse to protect themselves. It's not that they can't protect themselves. They just fucking refuse to do it. How many
agree.
of us have to continue to be inconvenienced and put through things and getting sick because of these asshole people that just can't take responsibility for themselves because they're not sheep, but they'll take a sheep dewormer. I don't get it.
I so agree with you. Yeah. I have a friend in South Carolina who sent through on Facebook the statistics, the medical statistics out of South Carolina from all hospital casualty, intakes throughout the state of South Carolina. 2% of intake into casualty with COVID were vaccinated.
Yes, everybody else.
98% were unvaccinated.
Yes.
Now,
our hospitals here are all full.
That has got to tell you something. Yes, you can still, as you know, you can still get COVID with being vaccinated. But here's the thing, you don't end up in hospital and you don't fucking die. That's the difference. And I don't know what else to say, It's like...
Well, I am going to say that's not necessarily true. I do know that there are some cases of people who are vaccinated having died. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. The reason that is happening is because of these unvaccinated motherfuckers that are allowing this virus to continue to mutate. That it's getting to a point where even sometimes the vaccination that should have taken care of this, and it would have, if it hadn't mutated into this, it could have kind of nipped it in the bud. We could have really been on the downward slope on this. but we're not. You know why? Because people are being told that they don't have to give a shit about anybody but themselves.
I know.
And they're culling their own herd. That's what's the craziest. They're doing all this to what? Own the libs. You know, y'all are killing yourselves. The Republicans telling people not to get the vaccination and not to wear a mask and not to do these things, it literally is killing their own voters. Because people who don't vote for them are getting vaccinated. Because they're not fucking stupid. You know, and so it's frustrating. It's frustrating. Because we're never, like, I don't know how we're going to ever catch up when 1/3 of our entire society is just determined to be just as fucking stupid as possible just because they want to be contradictory to anything that somebody on the other side of the political spectrum says.
I
don't get it.
I know. I was talking to my father during the week, and because I said, you grew up, because he grew up in England, and
yes.
And I said, I know, so Warren, your family's Swiss. Yeah, my family is so fucking complicated. Don't get me started. But anyway,
I know yours and mine both.
And he was fascinating because he lived through all the bombings, you know, and all the rest of it. And I said, what was that like for those years? Because we're now 18 months into COVID, basically, and with everything. And I said, so many people compare it to, like, the Second World War, especially, let's say, what a country like Britain went through in the Second World War with the blitzes, the bombings, and all the rest of it.
Right.
And he said, this is fucking nothing. Well, he didn't use the word fucking. That's me. He said,
that would have been me.
he said, this is nothing. He said, I don't understand. He said, I do not understand when I see people demonstrating. He said, I do not understand when people talk about my rights and my freedoms. He said, when I would go to school on Tuesday, and if Paul, a friend, wasn't there, it was because he was probably blown up the night before in an air raid. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's like, and he said, and the other thing too, he said, we had a spirit which was, we're going to beat this. It wasn't this give up spirit. He said, the spirit was, we're going to fight this till the absolute fucking end. We are, and he said that, you know, that statement, I don't have a lot of respect for the Winston Churchill, but that idea that he said, we will fight to the very end, he said that was the attitude of the British people. And he said there was never this idea of giving up. No one ever thought about giving up. And he said he's disgusted when he sees people now, like, sort of say, oh, I have a right not to... You know, really?
Yeah.
Do you not understand what real hardship is? You know,
no, they don't.
So you believe that it's a hardship to wear a mask when you step outside your house. You know, you don't know what hardship is.
No.
Ask a 90-year-old who might still be alive who survived the fucking Warsaw Ghetto. Ask them what hardship is.
Yeah, no
you
shit.
Know,
but even on the most basic level, though, here, and I'm not the one to say this. I'm paraphrasing somebody else's thoughts. But we have here in America that kids go to our schools and all of these active shooter drills and stuff that we do because of all of our school shootings here and people being murdered in the street. That's just supposed to be the price of freedom. But wearing a mask for 10 minutes in Walmart is a fucking tyranny. Like, it doesn't make sense. They're being led to screech and complain and carry on about stuff that is for their own best interest. Again, they're working against their own best interests. And they don't even realize how they're being used. And they call us sheep.
I know.
While it happens. And it just, and again, here in the U.S., it goes back to a multi-pronged attack on the intelligence level of the basic human being in our country. the right wing wants to keep people in our country, especially poor people, ignorant because it keeps them from wanting to fight back. It keeps them from understanding what their rights are. It keeps them from being able to have the confidence to stand up for themselves and to want to rule themselves in a way that's, a democratic kind of thing. These people are working actively to keep huge sections of our population down so that they can be in servitude and kept in servitude. And I'm going to be telling you right now, I am not the kind of person who is going to accept that without a fight. So yeah, it's a frustrating thing to realize that there's just this whole segment of your whole country that wants nothing more than to make sure others stay down so they can climb up on their backs. It just disgusts me.
Well, I mean, I know. I mean, we've seen it. I mean, I don't know. I was going to use some other countries as examples, but they're not really fair examples.
Yeah, no, America now is a fucking pit of it. So
it is stunning when you look at the difference in the attitude of life between Americans and Canadians. You know, I mean, it is. Now, I know that no one has to explain to me that, Warren, you do realise the history. Yeah, I do. I actually know a hell of a lot about the 7 Years' War. I do know about the creation of Canada versus the
Don't
13.
Get snippy. Nobody accused you of anything. That's only in your head.
Except for Twitter a few years ago, but those days are long gone. It's a little bit like... I'm stunned. I know more about the fucking 7 Years' War, which is what basically... Because people talk about the 7 Years' War was actually really, truly the First World War, not 1914.
It was, Warren, but you know what? We're not going to get into the 7 Years' War discussion right now.
But it was what created...
We're not digressing into that.
Yes, but it was what created the United States, if you like. And it definitely was the war that created Canada. People talk about the American Revolution created the United States. I would argue with that. I would say it was actually the 7 Years' War. But the thing is that it's such a difference in the population. Was this purely because all of the non-revolutionary Americans all immigrated to Canada at the end of the Revolutionary War? So you had basically Britain in the north, and then you had the Americans in the 13 colonies, or 13 states. And is that why Canada is so different?
I think it was the French, personally, but no, I don't know.
Well, it could be. It could be. I mean, you have to remember, Canadians are quite proud of the fact that they were 100% French until the fall of Quebec, although sometimes people need to remind them about the Native Americans who actually ran the fucking country before they arrived.
Well, we have to do that in America too, but let's not get,
I know. Anyway, we're going down another rabbit hole we probably should not go down.
We are not going down.
Oh, sorry, I am going down a rabbit hole, sorry. You can tell that I've been watching some documentaries lately. All right, so... But I've got some interesting stories for you for this year that I thought I wanted to get your reaction to, if I could. Because I thought these were hilarious, okay? Absolutely hilarious. Now, there was... in March this year, there was a man in Britain, just in Britain, I don't know where in Britain... Alan Slattery was his name, and he's been arrested. I believe he's currently on trial or in jail or whatever. And he attempted to rob a bank. But the man was not very well educated, and his handwriting was so bad when he pushed it up against the glass for the at the bank,
the note.
Yeah. They couldn't make out heads or tails of what it said. And so after this weird dispute, he left the bank. He then went to a second bank where he tried the same thing again. They couldn't read his note. He then went to a third bank where he tried it, and he was finally arrested by British police.
Oh my gosh.
You couldn't make that story up, could you?
Well, I mean, you could.
Well, you could, but it's real. You can go and look it up. It really, really happened. Alan Slattery is the gentleman's name. So
you know what, though? I have to have a little bit of compassion for this man because, first of all, I've never had actually very good handwriting because I used to pick the pencil up with my left hand, and my grandmother would take it from my left hand and put it in my right hand, and she wouldn't let me write with my left hand. I think I was supposed to be left-handed. But she demanded that I was right-handed. So I've always had a bit of a messy handwriting. But now, these days, that we type everything, we work on the computers or on your phones, you barely have to write anything out, especially cursive. I cannot write cursive for the life of me. It's not that I've forgotten how, but my hand does not move in conjunction with my brain. It just does random things. And so my hand makes this complete mess of a signature, complete mess of writing. I can barely read it. I feel like I might as well be a doctor at this point. So I have to have a little sympathy for the guy.
Yes,
I get it. We're not using our handwriting anymore. It becomes illegible.
Well, it's interesting. It reminded me of a story that was about 5 years ago in Australia. There was a gentleman who was done over. Well, he had to go and redo all of his identification because his signature was a picture of a penis. This is not a joke. This is not a joke. This is a true story. It was a picture. He drew a picture of a penis, right? And anyway, he had done it, first of all, as a joke when he tried to get his... because he was late to get a driver's license, so he applied for an ID card, like identification card, right? So he applied for his ID card, and as a joke, because he was a rebellious 18-year-old, he signed his name as a picture of a penis. Unbelievably, it passed, all right? And he got his ID card, and it was...
His signature was the picture of a penis.
He then went and he started just using it. Right, the bank accepted it. His bank, okay, accepted his signature. His, you ready for this? The motor vehicles accepted it. His license had a picture of a penis, as he said. It went on, and it wasn't until he turned about 25, and he thought, I should do the right thing. I really should enroll to vote. Right, and so he enrolled to vote. Now remember, once you enroll to vote, it means that you have to always vote, otherwise you get fined, because it's compulsory voting in Australia, right?
Yeah, for you guys, yeah.
Yeah, for us. Okay, so anyway, so he filled out the thing, and the government came back and said, no, this is not acceptable. You can't have a penis as... And then they started looking at everything else, and he was forced to change everything else. But he got away with it until he decided he was going to actually vote.
Here in the US,
got away with it.
They would have accepted it, but he would have been turned away from voting because his signature didn't match his penis picture.
Right.
I'm serious.
Oh, dearie me. I found it just absolutely hilarious. It's like, wow. Yeah, but that is a true story. The man was actually able to get away with it for about 3 years with his penis signature until he finally caught up with him. Yeah. So
okay. Well,
but it's not to be by another story which I came across from Maine in the United States, which was a man who was pulled over for some whatever, and they found out that he actually had some outstanding, I think you call them warrants, for parking fines or something or whatever. Yeah. Okay. So he was, I don't fully understand American law, so I'm sorry about that. But anyway.
I don't either.
So he was taken by the Maine police or whoever that is however that works. I don't really understand.
There are police, yes.
All right. And he was taken off and he was put into the cells, and then he faced what we would call the magistrate in the morning, And
Judge, yes.
okay, and then he was given, okay, this is fine. It's a really low risk thing. We're going to give you bail, and then you'll have to come back to face all of these outstanding stuff that you've got. The bail is $200. Now, so it's nothing. $200 is, you'd think would be nothing.
Unless you don't have any money.
Unless you don't have any money. I think that was the concept. They thought the man didn't have any money. What they didn't know was the guy was actually, what his job was, he was a counterfeiter. Right? Okay, so he easily produced $200. But you ready for this? He produced the counterfeit dollars.
Well, yes.
And it went through, and they immediately realised this money's counterfeit. It was handed back to the police. They shut down an entire counterfeiting ring because he paid his bail in counterfeit.
He really thought, that he had the skills to get away with that.
And I believe this was in April this year. So I
oh my gosh. So I have to tell you, there was a time when I accidentally gave my son a counterfeit $20 bill.
Really?
And I didn't know it. Yes. Okay, so, his dad works at a theme park, and sometimes they would trade out monies and stuff. So they had some issue with a 20, and they ended up bringing it home, and no one needed it to go somewhere. And I was like, oh, hey, let me give you this money. And I didn't think about it. I didn't even remotely think that this was some kind of a counterfeit thing. Why would they bring it home, right? So I went and grabbed it and gave it to him. And he took it. And he went to the theme park. And he went to get a locker to put his stuff in. And they gave him the hardest time. They couldn't tell if it was counterfeit, but they couldn't say it was real. And they gave my son the hardest time. And I was so embarrassed. I didn't realize that I had given him accidentally like a potentially counterfeit $20 bill.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
They were treating him like he was a criminal. He's like, I'm like 14, dude. I don't know what you want from me.
Okay.
I had to come down there and straighten it out. It was a big ordeal.
So we just have to pause quickly for 2 seconds. It's not meant to normally happen, but I have a courier at the door. Just 1 second.
Again.
If we can, everything I order's online these days. Sorry, I'll be back in. We will be back in 3 seconds.
Just do it.
Okay. Oh, that was the extra long intermission thing now. About 13 seconds. I was meant to play the 3-second one. Sorry about that. Anyway, yes, so we were talking about we were talking about deliveries, Warren. We were talking about counterfeit. Counterfeit. So but that's really amazing. So he actually went out with a counterfeit note.
Yeah, and it was my fault. I gave it to him, and I just didn't even realize it. And I had to go down there, and it was a big ordeal. They were treating him and his friend like they were criminals over this $20 bill. So, yeah, for a locker. Just, hooray, today in parenting.
Well,
it was quite a ways ago.
Well,
he's 22 now.
Well, here you go. I'll finish off with one story. I was going to tell you one about the ABC, but I'll save this a bit for the next show we do. But
okay,
because it's about how a satanic video got played on Australian government TV. It's a fascinating fucking story. So we'll save that for another day.
Beelzebub, yeah.
Oh no, seriously, it was. It really was. Yeah. So anyway. But in Liverpool, in England, there was a drug dealer called Carl Stewart, no relation, okay, and he and do you know how the police got him?
I do not,
because I'm about to tell you now.
I know,
and I find this is fascinating. He was a person of interest, as the police say, and
yes.
Anyway, they couldn't prove or link him to anything. He was not on register. In other words, his fingerprints weren't on register or anything along those lines, because he didn't have a criminal record. But what he did do was go to Marks and Spencer's and buy some cheese. He then posted on social media a picture of him cutting up the cheese where his hands touched the cheese. That created, by using very special filters within Scotland Yard, his fingerprints.
What?
And they were able to match his fingerprints, which he had publicly posted, to a crime scene.
Are you kidding me?
And they got him. And they fucking nicked him. This is serious. They got him from a social media post. Yeah.
Where he was cutting cheese?
Cutting cheese. But you could see the fingerprints. Because it was a really gooey cheese. He'd been touching it to make pasta or something with it.
Are you fucking kidding?
And they actually were able to get enough of a print from the images that he'd posted to actually match a print to a crime scene. So I think that's an amazing story.
My gosh.
Absolutely amazing story. So there you go. You know, if you're a person of interest to the police, don't post pictures of cheese on the internet.
Oh my God. Yeah. I don't even know what to say about that.
But apparently it's very, very simple. It was simply, he was a person of interest. They didn't have his fingerprints. They couldn't ask for his fingerprints because he'd done nothing wrong. So you can't, in Britain, just get someone's fingerprints. That's against the law. So you have to have reason to get their fingerprints. But he posted a picture. I mean, it's an amazing story. It just blew my mind. And they got this apparently, and this guy apparently is doing 20 years or something in a British prison for something like, it had something like 4 or 5 different charges against him. It was quite large.
We have a whole show called America's Dumbest Criminals, and if he had been in America, he would have been on that show. I mean, it's just... Yeah. That's James Bond level shit, though.
But what it does show you, though, is, you know, we talked about the thuggish nature of police, which is definitely what is shown in the media at the moment, and what a lot of us have experienced, you know, in real life. But when we actually talked about the high-tech level of serious crime detection within the police forces around the world, it's stunning at just how fucking incredible they are. Do you know what I mean?
Technology is great, and that kind of shit is also super scary.
Well, it is. Well, it is in a sense,
y'all.
Yeah.
If you're going to do crime, if you're going to do the crimes, wear the gloves when you cut the cheese. That's it. All right. That's enough of this.
Oh, dearie me. Well, anyway, that was. I think that was a great first show, a great first comeback, and
it's been a while.
It has been a while. We should probably actually, even though someone's listening to this, they probably know all of this, but we really should probably say what is our website, you know, and all the rest of it, and give all the information. Don't you think?
Our website now is but-I-digress no, not dash. What is it? It's
dash. No, it's dash.
Digress.
No, it's a dash between. It's but I digress, but there's a dash between each word.
Yes, there's no dash after digress. There's a dot.
No, there's
and
a
then
dot.
A com.
And it's a com.
Yeah. It's 2:30 in the morning, and I've had a lot of tequila.
That's okay. So just think, it's but I digress with every word with a dash. Just think about it that way.
But you can also still go to the Saints Martini, which is our old name.
Yes.
You can still find us there if it's easier for you.
Yeah. I think it's all good. And I was going to talk about other stuff, but no. We'll save that.
Can't.
We'll save that for another show. So, yes.
Let's do that.
So that's all good. So, anything else that we want to say before we sign off for episode 1 or episode, I don't know, 1.1 or episode 2.1 or whatever the fuck
I
we're going to do
know.
these days.
Whatever the fuck it is. I will say so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. Sorry, that's it. That's all I'm going to do.
Okay. That's okay.
Thank God.
I had a whole story about that, but I'll have to say wait for another show.
Another time.
I know.
Yeah.
All right then. So, we'll be back in maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, whatever it is. I don't know. We'll do it. What do you reckon?
Get some more tequila.
Yeah, look, we'll do a show every couple of weeks, or it'll be in that sort of realm, something along those lines. So, I don't know. I'm just fucking ranting. I'll just shut up. All right. Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye.